Welcome to G Fun Facts Online. Imagine living your entire life as a ghost. You exist, you breathe, you have hopes and dreams. But to the world of laws, borders, and governments, you are effectively invisible. This isn't the plot of a science fiction movie. It's the daily reality for millions of people around the globe who are stateless, living in a legal limbo where no country in the world recognizes them as a citizen. At the end of 2022, the UN Refugee Agency, or UNHCR, reported over 4.4 million stateless people. But the true number is estimated to be much, much higher, potentially exceeding 10 million individuals. Today, we're delving into the shadows of our global system to understand what it means to be stateless, how this crisis comes to be, and what is being done to ensure everyone has a place to call home. The international legal definition of a stateless person is a person who is not considered as a national by any state under the operation of its law. This sounds clinical, but the reality is devastating. Without a nationality, you are often denied a legal identity from the moment you are born. Think about the documents that define your official existence: a birth certificate, a national ID, a passport. For a stateless person, these often don't exist. Without that first piece of paper, a birth certificate, the dominoes begin to fall. You can't legally go to school. You can't get a formal job. You can't open a bank account, buy a house, or even get legally married. You live your life on the margins, unable to access the most basic rights that citizens take for granted. This lack of legal protection makes stateless people incredibly vulnerable. They face high risks of discrimination, exploitation, and abuse, including forced labor and human trafficking. They can be detained arbitrarily because they lack documents to prove who they are or where they have a right to be. The psychological toll is immense. Imagine the constant anxiety, the feeling of insecurity, and the profound sense of not belonging anywhere. It's a cycle of poverty and marginalization that is often passed down from one generation to the next. So how does this happen? How, in our interconnected 21st century world, does someone become a citizen of nowhere? The causes are a complex web of history, politics, and law, but they often boil down to a few major drivers. One of the biggest causes is discrimination. In fact, over 75% of the world's known stateless populations belong to minority groups. They are denied nationality based on their race, ethnicity, religion, or language. A stark and tragic example is the Rohingya, a Muslim minority in Myanmar. A 1982 citizenship law passed by the government effectively rendered the vast majority of Rohingya stateless. This law didn't just strip them of their citizenship. It paved the way for decades of persecution and violence by essentially erasing their identity as a recognized group within the country. A similar story unfolded in Syria. In 1962, a highly controversial census in the northeast of the country arbitrarily stripped around 120,000 Syrian Kurds of their citizenship overnight. These individuals and their descendants became known as Ajanib, meaning foreigners, or Maktumin, meaning unregistered. They are trapped in the country of their birth, unable to work, vote, own property, or even leave. Another major cause is something called state succession. This happens when new countries are created, old countries dissolve, or borders shift. The collapse of the Soviet Union in 1991 is a massive example of this. When the USSR broke apart into 15 independent republics, hundreds of thousands of people were left in a state of legal limbo. Many former Soviet citizens, particularly those belonging to ethnic minorities who lived outside their ethnic homelands, faced huge barriers in obtaining the nationality of the new states. They hadn't registered properly, or the new laws didn't account for them, and they were left without a country to call their own. Then there are gaps in nationality laws themselves. Globally, there are two primary principles for acquiring nationality at birth. The first is jus soli, which means right of the soil. If you're born in a country's territory, you are a citizen. The second is jus sanguinis, meaning right of blood. You inherit citizenship from your parents, regardless of where you are born. Now, here's how a gap appears. Imagine a child is born in a country that operates on jus sanguinis, so citizenship is only granted through parents. But this child's parents are from a jus soli country, one that only grants citizenship to people born on its soil. Since the child wasn't born in their parents' country, they can't get citizenship there. And since the country they were born in doesn't grant citizenship by birth, they can't get it there either. The child falls through the cracks, born stateless. Finally, a significant and often overlooked driver is gender discrimination. As of today, 24 countries still deny women the right to pass on their nationality to their children on an equal basis with men. These laws are rooted in outdated, patriarchal views that see the father as the primary source of a child's identity. If the father is stateless, unknown, or unable to confer his nationality for any reason, his children born in these countries are at extreme risk of being born stateless. Despite this bleak picture, the world has not been silent. The international community has created a legal framework to address this problem. There are two key international treaties. First is the 1954 Convention relating to the status of stateless persons. This treaty defines who a stateless person is and sets out the minimum standards for their treatment. It guarantees them rights like freedom of religion, access to courts, education, and work. Crucially, it obliges states to provide stateless people with identity and travel documents. The second, and perhaps even more important, is the 1961 Convention on the Reduction of Statelessness. This treaty's goal is to prevent statelessness from happening in the first place. It establishes critical safeguards, such as requiring states to grant nationality to children born on their territory who would otherwise be stateless. It also prohibits states from depriving people of their nationality on discriminatory grounds. At the forefront of the global fight is the UNHCR. In 2014, the agency launched its ambitious #YouBelong campaign with the goal of ending statelessness within a decade. The campaign has made significant progress. Over 500,000 people have acquired citizenship thanks to these efforts. We've seen incredible successes, like Kenya, granting nationality to the long marginalized Makonde, Shona, and Pemba communities. And the nation of Kyrgyzstan worked to successfully resolve all known cases of statelessness within its borders, showing that this problem is solvable. Building on this momentum, in 2024, the UNHCR launched the Global Alliance to End Statelessness, a new initiative to accelerate these efforts by bringing together states, civil society, and most importantly, stateless-led groups. And it's not just big UN agencies. A growing movement of non-governmental organizations and grassroots activists are playing a crucial role. In Thailand, for example, grassroots volunteers, many of whom were once stateless themselves, are helping people from ethnic minority communities navigate the complex legal maze to apply for citizenship. They are the front lines in the fight for belonging. So where do we go from here? The challenge is immense and the fight is far from over. Overcoming statelessness requires a sustained effort from everyone. Governments must take the lead. This means reforming discriminatory nationality laws, especially those that discriminate based on gender or ethnicity. It means joining and fully implementing the 2 UN Statelessness Conventions. And it means ensuring universal birth registration, a simple but powerful tool to prevent childhood statelessness before it starts. Civil society also has a vital role. We need to raise awareness, provide legal assistance to stateless individuals, and hold governments accountable for their promises. The voices of stateless people themselves must be at the center of all these efforts. Ultimately, eradicating statelessness is not just a legal or technical issue. It is a moral imperative. It is about recognizing the inherent dignity and worth of every single individual. It's about ensuring that everyone has the right to an answer to the simple question, where are you from? The world has the tools and the legal framework to solve this problem. What is needed now is the collective political will to turn the promise of universal nationality into a reality for all. Thank you for listening to Fun Facts Online.